Thank you to the Pokemon Company International for sponsoring this video. What is going on, guys? My name is John and welcome back to yet another video. In Pokemon Legends Arceus, there's an extensive list of side quests you can embark on. At certain points in the game, you can interact with NPCs that will request for you to give them a specific Pokemon for them to keep forever, and coming to find out, if you give them a shiny Pokemon, it will stay shiny in the overworld. I decided to make the goal of turning Jubilife City into a shiny Pokemon showcase by giving everyone a shiny Pokemon. And this is how it went. To start this challenge, I really didn't have a definitive game plan as to how I was going to get anything. I just knew that realistically, I was going to get a lot of shinies. Because I perfected my Pokedex, all Pokemon have a 1 in 586 chance of being shiny, and with mass outbreaks, we can bring those odds down to as low as 1 in 128. It's important to note that since I've already completed all my tasks on my main save file, I just made a brand new save and I'm going to trade them over to be able to give them to the NPCs. In total, there are 10 Pokemon that we need to find, and thankfully 3 of them can be found in the first area of the game. I decided to start my journey in the Obsidian Fieldlands, which contains 4 Pokemon that I'm looking for. Each of these Pokemon are scattered around the entire area, so I figured that flying around for a while will give me the best initial chances at finding at least one shiny Pokemon. The first few that I found, however, let me know this challenge wasn't going to be as straightforward as I'd imagined.
Also, just as a side note, this is what my voice sounds like when I'm sick, which is, it's definitely something. Oh, wow. Oh my god, that's crazy. That's insane. It sucks because I don't need that, but like, that's crazy. That's so sick. That's so cool.
Unfortunately, Geodude is one of the required NPC Pokemon for this challenge, so this was a little bit disappointing. But finding an Alpha as my first shiny is pretty insane. But a few hours later, I found something even better.
Oh, that's quite a find. I have no voice, so this is... I'm using all of my voice now. Oh my. All right, well, that's a start to the challenge.
This is without a doubt my #1 dream Alpha to find this game, and considering that I played this game for well over 500 hours and flown over this area hundreds of times, it was bound to happen at some point. After riding around a little bit more, I managed to find a shiny Kricketot as well as a Luxio, but eventually I was able to find the first member of my challenge.
Oh my god. Oh, no way. There it is. That's #1. There we go. All right, 1 down.
With Paris on the team, as well as a shiny Starly I found on the way to the professor, I made my way back to Jubilife and traded it to the other game, and immediately worked on my first request. I decided to name every shiny that I found, and this one is named Gallerina. I just looked on Google for mushrooms that could kill you. Generally speaking, the requests themselves are pretty easy. For this one, you have to go to Laventon's chalkboard and accept the request. However, technically we don't have the right Pokemon. If we talk to Moral in his house, he requests for us to give him a Parasect, which makes this arguably the easiest Pokemon to complete in this challenge due to the fact that the entire Parasect line will complete the request. After evolving Gallerina, I handed it over to finish up this storyline. Because this only took a few hours to reach this point, I decided to continue my grind in the Obsidian Fieldlands for one of the 3 remaining Pokemon I need here. I was a little concerned that I'd get super unlucky and find another Paris, but what I found was much, much worse.
No. Stop. It happened twice.
That is absolutely unreal. Well, this is definitely an interesting challenge for sure. Despite being the luckiest, unluckiest shiny hunter of the day, the tides were going to quickly turn.
Yes. Oh, another one. There we go. That is the second member that we need in this challenge.
Heading into Galaxy Hall, we can meet up with Radisa, who asked for us to find her a Geodude to be a lid for a pot of pickles. At her house, we can give her the shiny, and it's important to bring up that this is actually one of the few multi-part quests on this list. For some of these requests, you can follow the story of the character, and eventually the Pokemon you gave the NPC will evolve, which is especially cool for shinies since you can just walk by and watch them grow up. Although this is another one that can be checked off the list, this is the beginning of what I like to call the bait era. Now, to give full transparency, it's taken a total of 5 hours to reach this point, and considering that I've got a total of 8 shinies so far, I've been getting pretty lucky, and I think the game caught on to that. For the Fieldlands, I had 2 more requests that need to be taken on, and I decided to hunt down the first one you get at the beginning of the game. In front of Galaxy Hall, the guard, named Beauregard, will stop you and request that you give him a Wurmple, so he can learn about how it evolves. There's really a tutorial for completing a task in this game, and even with a shiny, this shouldn't be too hard to find considering how abundant Wurmple are. Because I already knew this, I think I let it get to my head. I decided to expand my horizons by adding the Crimson Mirelands to my search area list to potentially find another quest, and the results were not what I had in mind. Is that another shiny? Did I miss here? Oh, it is. Oh, it's so close. No, it's so close to what I actually need. Unfortunately, this doesn't work the same way as the Parasite quest, but thankfully I won't have any more trouble, right?
Oh, are you kidding me? That's so stupid. I wasn't even gonna come down here. You know what? Now I regret it. Dude, that's so messed up. This is cruel. This is a sick joke. Okay. Aw, no. It's happening. Are you kidding me? Oh. B. Although this wasn't a duplicate, Male Combi feels like a duplicate. I was starting to get worried that I was getting stuck in a realm of endless mushrooms and rocks, and a horde of angry villagers demanding my help. I made my way back to the Fieldlands to rethink my strategy, so I decided to focus on the main task at hand, and I think I made the right choice. Oh, what is it? Oh, yes! Yes! Finally, dude, this one took forever. I feel like out of all of the Pokemon that I've hunted, this is the one that's taken the longest. I've done the most attempts at it. Upon handing Wormy over to Beauregard, you can observe a man go insane as he adamantly assumes that the Wurmple will evolve into a Beautyfly, gaslight us when we show him the correct evolution, and eventually give in when it finally evolves. With another member completed, I decided to grind out a little bit of my hunting in the Crimson Mirelands, as there are still 2 Pokemon that are basically exclusive to this area that need to be collected. Personally, however, one is a little bit harder to obtain than the other. In my opinion, Petalil is by far the hardest shiny to obtain in this list of NPC requests that I have to do, as this Pokemon is only available in one location in the game. Although Wurmple is also in this category, the main difference is the amount of spawns that are available. While Wurmple spawns in nearly the entirety of the north and south sections of the Fieldlands, Petalil is restricted to only 2 spots in the Mirelands, with a total of 11 chances every time you enter the location. After flying around for a few hours, the only shiny I was able to find was ironically the closest looking Pokemon, Badoo, but this little bulb was nowhere to be found. This is when I decided to switch things up. Because I would get the best odds from doing mass outbreaks, I figured that attempting as many of these as possible would realistically give me the best chances. While we're heading to that outbreak, let's talk about some newer Pokemon content. It's finally spooky season, and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are bringing some Halloween-themed additions to the games. From October 27th to November 1st, you can participate in a special Terror Raid, as well as a Halloween-themed outbreak. Use your team Pokemon from the main game or the Teal Mask DLC, and challenge the 5-star Miss Magius Terror Raids. Is there a shiny here? Yep, I don't know what I expected. In addition, there'll be a special Halloween outbreak where you can encounter Mimikyu, Greavard, Phantump, and Drifloon. Who knows? You might even have a chance of finding a shiny. I mean, look at this little guy. Who doesn't want him? If you want to expand your Pokemon Scarlet and Violet experience, you can get a copy of the newest DLC, The Hidden Treasure of Area 0 Part 1, and take on the storyline of the Teal Mask and learn more about the land of Kitakami and the history along with it. I had a ton of fun playing through it, and there are a bunch of cool little secrets and Pokemon to find, so I definitely recommend giving it a shot. Maybe you'll see me online and we'll be able to take on a Terror Raid battle together. Look at this. Brancheska was built to battle. There are a lot more special Terror Raid events happening this year, so make sure you stay prepared for whatever high-level Pokemon is waiting to be challenged. You had trouble with Mewtwo last month, don't lie to me. It wasn't just me. Oh, there it is! Please don't run from me. You can learn more about these Halloween events, as well as the Teal Mask DLC, with the link at the top of the description. Thank you again to the Pokemon Company International for sponsoring this video, and let's trade this Pokemon in. Out of all the shinies we collected so far, this is probably the most underwhelming one compared to its normal form, and although this is the first time I found this shiny, I think it's better off in someone else's hands. Back in the city, we can accept the request for the Search for Bitter Leaves, where Shannon is looking for a Petalil that can be turned into medicine? That can't be right. After sacrificing this bulb to science, I was ready to move on. At this point, I was getting kind of bored going around the same areas, so I added the Cobalt Coastlands to my search locations, which is where things started to get interesting. If you didn't know, the Cobalt Coastlands contains the most Pokemon out of any location in the game, and that's mostly because of all the tiny little Pokemon that reside in the waters. I was still trying to search in the Crimson Mirelands for one more member, and there were a few neat finds. In the first hour, I managed to find another male Combi, a Stantler, and Staravia, but there was something I found that was a little bit more rare than all of these. Dude, I have been getting so lucky. That is so crazy. That is absolutely absurd. I'd just like to note that during the 400-ish hours that it took to perfect my entire Pokedex, I caught a whopping 2 Alpha Shinies. 2. Although this is pretty neat, I eventually jumped into yet another long grind in this challenge.
Okay. Okay, this is huge. Is this the one I need? All right. This could be the hardest one in the entire game done. If you know anything about the requests in this game, the Buizel guard is arguably one of the most famous, and it's not for a good reason. Earlier I said that Petalil was the hardest Pokemon to get, and that wasn't entirely true. The quest returning in the Buizel is by far the most tedious, as no ordinary Buizel will do. We'll need the top percentage of water weasels. The Garo mentioned that the professor told him that Pokemon come in different sizes, and he couldn't fathom one being larger than his, so we're tasked with finding a Big Buizel. After trying to turn it in, we're immediately rejected. In order to complete the task, you need to bring him a Buizel that's at least 2'8", and mine was about as short as they come. As you can imagine, having one that tall is nearly the highest range possible, as regular Buizel's height maxes at 2'9", so finding one taller than this behemoth is going to be a challenge. Alright. On the upside, we've actually still completed another NPC request. On the west side of the city, you can talk to Miller, who needs assistance in tilling the farms to grow more berries. With this side quest, he requests a total of 3 Pokemon to bring to the farm, each with different requirements. For the first one, he requires a ground-type Pokemon, and I think I have someone who could be a big help. My. Unlike the other requests we had to take on, you can actually swap out Pokemon at the farm anytime you'd like, so while this doesn't have the permanent effect of losing a shiny, I'll just have to make the ultimate sacrifice to make sure that I never get them back. Because we can't immediately deposit the other 2 farm Pokemon, let's take on another challenge and then come back later. The next shiny that needs to be hunted down is a request that starts within Galaxy Hall itself. Upon accepting the request off of Laventon's blackboard, Nurse Buizel asks us to find a Krogunk as they need to use it for medicine. Are they just cooking every Pokemon for science? Krogunk is the last shiny available within the Crimson Mirelands, with the exception of a potential regular mass outbreak in the Coronet Highlands. On my first flight down the mountain, I managed to find a shiny Bronzor, but for the first hour, that was kinda it. Now, I know that you're probably thinking that I'm forgetting something, but that Big Buizel was still on my mind. I still took occasional stops to the Fieldlands to check the coastlines, and that didn't exactly go too well. Oh, no! No! Surely it's not gone. Wait, huh? Wait, no, I have business! I have business, Cricketot! No. You do not leave me, sight. Back in the Crimson Mirelands, I managed to find a shiny Skorupi, but then I had a huge find. Krogunk pretty much only spawns in the southern swamp area of the map, and it's basically the only thing in the area, so the odds have to be good, right? Wait. Yes! Oh. No. It looks so close. Yes! Yes! Finally, dude. I found it. At this point, I turned in over half the shinies I need, but I decided to take it a step further. At the farm, we requested with giving him a water-type Pokemon, so I decided to offer up my Alpha Empoleon to deal with an eternity of observing dirt. There you go, Empoleon. You're really doing it. Although we haven't been asked yet, the final farm request is a Pokemon that can learn the move Rock Smash. I'm not sure if this is a targeted act towards making a bunch of smaller Golem to work, but a request is a request. For some reason, there's an absurd list of Pokemon that can learn that move through move tutors, and although I do have a pretty decent list of Pokemon that can work for that, I figured I'd leave it up to you. I decided to spend 2 hours hunting down some shinies and let you vote for the hardest working Pokemon. And this is how it went. Oh, wait, I already have you. Wait, what? Ah, I barely noticed that one. Ooh. I don't know if I even have this one. What was it? Is it? No. Ah. Oh, wow. That's a good find. Okay. I didn't like it that much. And that is number 406 of the Shiny Starly collection. Oh! I've always wanted this one to be shiny. Somehow, only 2 of these Pokemon learn Rock Smash. I made a poll between Drapion and Abomasnow deciding their fates, and we'll check back in on that in a bit. After spending an entire day flying around to areas that only Buizel spawns and finding nothing, I knew that I had to rethink my strategy. I would find a Buizel, but it wouldn't even be close to what I was looking for. Because the size can range from as high as 2'9" to as low as 1'10", we have realistically a 2 in 11 or 18% chance for one of these shinies to be the correct one. Because I needed to encounter as many as possible with the highest odds, I decided that this hunt was meant to be found in a massive mass outbreak. For 2 days, I swapped between the Obsidian Fieldlands and the Cobalt Coastlands trying to find this little rat, and I definitely found some. Oh, that one looks huge. Wait a second. Is it? It looks smaller. All right, never mind. Although my mind was exclusively set on finding this Pokemon, there was one thing I had to check out. Hello? I feel like I'm destined to find a Mass Shiny Magby doing this. All right, new side quest. Oh, see, I knew. After finding yet another small Buizel, I was about 10 hours in this hunt and pretty confident that I'd never find what I wanted. Ooh, that looks kind of small. Now don't be fooled, this Buizel was 2'4", but something very interesting happened in this outbreak that changed everything. This could be really big. So when you visit a massive mass outbreak, there's a small chance that the outbreak will spawn a second horde of Pokemon for you to catch. In every other outbreak I've done until this point, either a group of Floatzel or Alpha Floatzel will appear, and this is pretty standard for all outbreaks as it's made to be a more difficult challenge. In this, however, it was exclusively spawns of Alpha Buizel, which are very tall. Upon checking out the wave, not a single one of them was shiny, which would normally mean that I have to go to a different outbreak and then try again, but this was a different situation. So I think by this point, it's fairly common knowledge that with the release of the Daybreak DLC, you can no longer soft reset outbreaks to get shiny Pokemon, as the Pokemon are predetermined the moment that you check in with the guard at Jubilife Village. But what if I told you that wasn't entirely true? If you happen to come across an outbreak that results in a second wave, the Pokemon that will appear will depend on how you complete the first section. By doing a combination of catching and defeating Pokemon, you can create different outcomes, which results in each of the Alpha Buizel having different stats and shiny values. This does require a bit of planning as you have to battle and defeat multiple Pokemon at once to manipulate the spawns, but this gives us an astronomically higher chance of finding that big Buizel. With the power of this website, I'm able to keep track of all the different permutations that you can do, and fortunately, this outbreak was the best case scenario. Because the first wave of the massive outbreaks can do 8 to 10 Pokemon, the amount of permutations you can do increases the more Pokemon that you can encounter. This Buizel outbreak just happened to have 10 Pokemon, which means that there are 94 different second waves or 564 chances to find a shiny. I think the funniest part about this is that the first encounter of this outbreak was that first shiny Buizel, so I was getting pretty desensitized to that sound, and because of the order that you have to knock out Pokemon, sometimes it took a sacrifice. Now you might be thinking, John, this sounds like it's way too easy of a way to get a shiny, and normally I would agree with you, but we're forgetting that when my luck is bad, it's really bad. Because eventually a majority of the Pokemon have to be knocked out in different size groups, each attempt can take up to 5 minutes, and as much as I'd like to say that it only took me a few attempts, that would be a lie. After 50 permutations and 300 encounters, I was well over odds, and I was getting a little scared that I need to find another one of these outbreaks all over again. After 5 hours of rebattling and 58 attempts, it finally showed up. No way. That right there is a big Buizel. This took me like 4 days, which is way too long for one Pokemon. After trading him over to the other game, I was able to give it to the guard, and come to find out, if you give him an alpha, it's a completely different dialogue. I knew that this worked for the Parasect event, but this was a pretty neat surprise to experience, albeit a small part of the game, but something I had never seen before in this game. After checking back in on the poll, it was apparent that Abomasnow was built to be sent to endure a life of land development, so I gave him over to Miller, which leaves us with only one more Pokemon to be found. For the 10th and final request of this challenge, it actually doesn't take place in Jubilife Village. Deep within the Coordinate Highlands, we're requested to collect one of the coolest and most personally relatable Pokemon in the game, Nosepass. This big nose boulder has a research request in this game, and because I found the last member in an outbreak, I wanted to finish this challenge naturally. To my surprise, a majority of the NPC shinies I had found were just from flying around, so I really wanted to challenge myself in finding that last member. I started near the summit of Mount Coronet and made my way down to see what I could find. Oh, that's so sick. Ooh. Ooh, wait, is that another alpha? Dude, another? I already have you. Oh, that's unreal. Back-to-back alphas. That's it. Dude, I have hunted for what? Let me just check. 30 minutes. The past 4 shinies were in 30 minutes. That's it. We're done. Well, actually, the funny part of the situation is in the other game, I haven't even made it to the Coronet Highlands, so that's what I'm gonna go do right now. After grinding through the rest of the coastlands and even finding a shiny Gumi along the way, I was able to meet up with Gully, follow her into the cave, and give her the nose pass to complete the entire collection. From what I've been told, she brings this nose pass back to Jubilee Village after this quest, but I couldn't find it, so I guess that one's gone forever. In total, this challenge took me about 35 hours to complete, which is pretty insane considering that about 15 of that was just trying to find Buizel. Although I gave a lot of Pokemon away, I did manage to find 47 shinies, including 7 shiny alphas, which looking back is pretty insane to think about. I will say that there are a lot of duplicates that are probably going to sit in the farm PC boxes forever, so I think it's probably best to let them go. Go ahead, my short little Buizels. Grow up to be tall and strong. Wait, what's this? Oh no!